A while back, when I was doing one of my first or earlier jobs, or second job, I think, I had problems with it. I didn't quite understand. I didn't quite understand how it worked. I had problems trying to understand a lot of the processes. I struggled a lot. The only thing sort of keeping me there, it was trying to survive. I did try to look for other work, but nothing actually came through. I don't think I looked hard enough though. It was my fault. But during those times when I tried to understand why I couldn't understand the job, it was, I had a different perspective on certain things. Instead of, I tried to understand the work itself, I tried to learn it, but it just wasn't getting through to my mind. Nothing was clicking, quote unquote. And I tried to figure out why that's the case. I try to come up with I wouldn't call it a theory, it's just a different point of view, a different perspective on the learning process. Okay, so what motivates a person to learn something? You've got something very obvious, like you need to survive. In order to survive, you need to learn things. Like, I don't know, if you're in the wilderness, you have to learn how to fish or hunt in order to survive. So a similar sort of thing can be said in, well, this perspective came from when I used to work in an office sort of area. It was quite technical, the type of work involved. It requires certain understanding of the business processes, the many business rules, the complex technical algorithms, I would say, and how it works, how it integrates with the business processes. That's the simplest way of putting it. So I try to come up with a thought, an idea of the learning process. Other than survival, other than the need to survive, what is it that drives a person to learn something? It seems to come down to three things. Well, you could include competition, to be better than someone, to be better than yourself, to constantly improve. But I think there's something else as well. And that is, I think there are three things that stands out for me. There's the innate ability. So that's something to do with the brain. Like for some people, they can look at something and figure out how it connects to other things. So pattern recognition, how to utilize the information that you've absorbed in other ways. So if someone teaches you something, you can reapply that in something similar. I'm speaking in a very general sense here. So, I'll just let it run its course. What was I saying? Oh yes, so there's the innate skills. You could argue that everyone can pick something up, but I don't think that's the case, because you see some, I don't want to use the word gifted, or maybe geniuses, that's an extreme end. They have a way, I believe, where the brain can connect certain things together and create new things. Look at some musicians who's, prodigies. Of course they work really hard to get to where they are. So that's the other thing as well, you have to work hard, self-discipline. But that's not the one that I'm focusing on. Self-discipline helps a lot. But I think having the innate ability to connect the dots, to form patterns, I think that helps. That's one. Second is having the results. When you learn something, when you do something, you see the results. Feedback, a feedback loop. Not necessarily from other people, not like praises and things like that. So, a very simple example is if you use a hammer on a nail and you can see it going into the wood, or connecting pieces together, or doing a mathematical formula, you can see that there's a result coming out. Or you you program something, you see that there's a sort of a result, an output, an expected value. So that spurs the learning process to make you want to continue further. It's almost like a reward system. You do something and you feel that you're getting an improvement, results are coming in. So the job that didn't work out for me, I expended a lot of time and energy. 6 months in, I wasn't getting anywhere. I didn't understand what people were saying. It was very hazy and blurry for me. Just nothing connected with me. It was a terrible experience because I couldn't work, I couldn't contribute. And that was just, it just seems very pointless. It started going downhill. When I stopped caring about it, that's a bad thing. So I think being able to see the result is important, because you know that what you're doing has some sort of return, sort of like return on investment. If you spend 6 to 12 months and you're only able to pick up 0.001% of what the work is, and it doesn't seem to pick up speed, there's no exponential rate in the learning experience, that's problematic. And that's what I sort of experienced. And the third, for me, is the most elusive, interest. Having the interest to do the job, to do that particular work. It just wasn't there. just didn't come to me. Maybe I was impatient. So having that desire, I just don't quite understand how interest works. How can you look at something and go, wow, I'm interested in that and I want to keep going at it regardless of how much I fail at it. I remember talking to someone who tried to learn to play the guitar, and he didn't understand any of the chords, playing the strings, that sort of thing. Didn't know how to read the notes. But he was still interested in just playing with it, strumming away at it, or trying to come up with his own way of playing it. And I think that says a lot about this concept of interest. I still can't quite wrap my mind around how interest works. It's as if it's the most fundamental component. You can't go any deeper than that. And maybe all those three things that I mentioned, the innate ability, seeing the feedback, and interest, all of them are connected in some ways. And they feed into each other. And I started thinking, is it possible to have no interest but still be able to see, if you know how to do the job, having the innate skills, would you still be able to do the job without needing to have interest? I think that's possible. Some jobs I might not have interest in, but if I can pick up on the required skills and build upon it within a short period of time, or within a reasonable period of time, I can keep going, I can work with it. But if it's too difficult and I have no interest and I'm not getting feedback, then that's where the problem comes in. So it's just a very general idea in terms of, or a different perspective of how someone might continue, or how I would continue learning something and picking things up. Obviously, as I said before, there's things like the desire to survive, the need to survive. That's what spurs someone on, or competition to be better than anyone else. But I think that's a different level. Once you get good at something, how else are you going to push yourself? One of the ways is through competition, to be better than what you've done previously, or better than other people. Of course, there's also financial, or the desire to build more wealth or skill sets, those things as well. I think they play a role. And as I mentioned, self-discipline. When you're feeling tired, or you just don't feel like doing anything at all, you still keep pushing yourself. That's one of the key components in learning. I think all of them somehow contribute to I don't want to use the word success, but to improve, I suppose, to progress further in the learning experience. Anyway, I think that's pretty much it for now. I'll talk to you guys, whoever is out there listening to this rambling. Have a pleasant day or night. Take care of yourselves. All the best.